Here's Luke Willson. Luke, first of all, how you feeling, buddy? We miss you on the desk here.
I'm feeling a bit better, Jay, and I miss being beside you, but at least it was one of the worst games of all time that I missed. So that's the consolation prize.
It really was a disaster. Plus, the weather in Toronto is just a disaster. So it's better that you stayed home, buddy. I'm glad you're getting some rest. I've always wanted to ask you something like this. What can a team possibly take away from a blowout like this if you're the winning team like Green Bay was?
Yeah, so, Jay, it's funny, but if I'm Green Bay, especially like right off the bat, this team's dominating. So what I would have done is if I would have been Matt LaFleur, I would have said, hey, let's do an extensive self-scout on ourselves and find our own tendencies, which is pretty regular. But then once we've got this game in control, try and break them all. So, hey, on 3rd and 3 to 6, if we're, a zone coverage team, we're running man coverage today. Okay, if we don't like blitzing and our blitz numbers are low and that's a tendency, we're sending blitzes. Even run game stuff, there's all sorts of wrinkles you can do within your scheme to potentially, throw other teams off when they're prepping for you. We used to call this chasing ghosts. So sometimes you turn the film on and you're scouting another team. You say, do we really think this is how they're going to play us? Or are we chasing ghosts right now? That's really the only benefit you can get. That and being able to get, Chris Brooks and Wilson touchdowns, kind of some unsung heroes in the backfield. But again, when you play a game like that, the coaches might be playing a little chess, but the players are trying to get some of the scout team back up some good time.
So you have talked a lot about how for you, the class of the NFC are the 3 teams in the North, the Lions, the Vikings, and of course the Packers. All 3 of those teams now are officially in the postseason. Luke, where would you rank those 3 teams in your mind right now as we head into Week 17?
Jay, I'm telling you, the Lion fans aren't going to like this right now. Just due to the injuries, I've got them at 3. And I think they can still win. The offense is going. But I would put 1A, 1B, Green Bay, and Minnesota. And I go back and forth here. I think Green Bay is actually the most complete football team here, Jay. I think that this team really knows how to utilize their players. You got Jacobs, who's obviously what everything's running through right now. He can catch the ball out backfield to run the ball extremely well. You got Jordan Love, who at the beginning of the year I was a bit worried about. He threw a couple interceptions. He's been extremely solid in the second half of the season, is leading the NFL when it comes to touchdown to interception ratio. And you got enough pieces at wide receiver to do different things. Now you flip to the defense. Also playing very, very well, and they're going to get Jair Alexander back very soon, and I believe Ballentine, their other safety as well. So I sit here and say, as far as a complete team goes, this Green Bay Packers in the NFC North is it. Why I have Minnesota up there is because it's very, very tough for me to sit here and say, when you have a combination of Jefferson and Addison, that's the great equalizer. So even if they have, I know we talked about it last night, Minnesota has a weaker back end, they can make up for a lot of things when you have that dynamic duo wide receiver.
And then there's the New Orleans Saints, Luke. I mean, you heard Joe and Troy Aikman talk about it. They were basically missing every single one of their offensive stars. It actually, I don't mean to laugh, but it was actually amazing to see all the players that they were missing in this game on Monday. How would you sum up what we saw from the Saints on Monday?
Embarrassing. It was embarrassing, and it looked like they didn't belong on an NFL field, let alone Lambeau in December. And, Jay, I sit here and say, yeah, you're out, you got injuries, but you got a lot of things to play for, people to play for in that organization, jobs, and this is what we come out here and do. I mean, first and foremost, Spencer Rattler was clueless all night. I could not believe it. Air-mailing balls, throwing balls errantly. We fumbled there earlier. It just was absurd, and there was nothing really went well. And then you had penalties, a lot of pre-snap penalties early on. Again, just an absolute mess. We're turning the ball over. I sit here, Jay, and you mentioned it. We're putting these guys in freezers before the game to get ready for the cold. Why don't we get them ready to come out here and execute just a generic NFL offense? And the other thing was the abomination at the end of the first half by the Saints coaching staff and the timeouts. I was appalled. Again, at this level, and I know you're the intern head coach, but to not have any clue what's going on was just disappointing for me to see.
I feel like this franchise needs a total reset at this point. Luke, here's the good news. On TSN on Christmas Day, we got 2 killer games, 2 killer matchups. Love to get your thoughts on them. First of all, Chiefs 2.5-point favorite over the Steelers. Who do you like in that one?
You know, I got to roll with the Chiefs. I think with Hollywood Brown coming back, they look pretty good. Steelers do get some help, though. Allegedly, George Pickens is going to play, which is a big ordeal.
And then second contest, Ravens against the Texans. Baltimore, a 5.5-point favorite. Both these teams head into the postseason, Luke.
You know what, Jay? I know everyone's probably leaning heavy on Baltimore here, and I do expect them to win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than that 5.5. Just the matchup-wise, Houston does a lot of good things on defense, and Stroud, I thought, threw the ball better last week. That's the matchup I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Get better, buddy. Well, have a great Christmas. We'll talk to you after the break, okay?
Sounds good, Jay. Happy holidays.